Hello, everybody. Today we have Janine back again. Thank you, Janine, for joining me.
David, thanks for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. So how's the situation over in Canada at the moment?
Are you talking weather-wise or politics?
Where the let's just call it the situation, not weather.
Oh, the situation. Oh, that
Yeah.
situation. Okay. So the illness that's plaguing the earth situation,
Yeah.
that one. Okay. So not really lightening up just yet, although today people started, at least where I live in Western Canada. So I'm in Calgary, Alberta, which is one province before British Columbia, right? So we're really west. They just started letting you in restaurants again. And apparently pubs and bars are going to open up, which is spectacular, as long as they serve food. Now, I don't know where they come up with these weird rules. So what, if you eat, you're not going to catch, anything bad, no germs, or like, where do they come up with these weird, or some places are opening in the States, but they can't serve alcohol, even if they're a bar.
Yeah, really odd. I mean, it's almost as silly as we've had some, but you have to be seated. Like you can't stand up. You have to be seated because the virus, it won't get you if you're seated.
Right. Yeah, we get that too. Yep.
It's so weird. Or 10 p.m. is the cutoff time, and that's when it comes out to play, and it's 10 times worse than it usually is, and
Right.
everybody has to go home at 10.
So what's happening there now? I know last week you guys had something like a 5-day thing.
Yeah, so interesting kind of turn of events. So the day after we spoke, so basically the rundown is we're out of lockdown now. We had the 5-day thing.
Good.
We're out of it, but
Yeah.
the masks are still mandatory, and there's a couple of other restrictions as well. But that's
weird.
And funnily enough, it kind of ties in with that 2-week thing you were talking about, because the whole fiasco is going to last about 2 weeks. So it should be at the end of this week, everything should be over.
Right.
That's what they're telling us. And
yeah.
But the strange thing is that they tested quite a few people. I think it was like 35,000 people or somewhere around that number over the course of the week.
Yeah.
And 0 cases.
Wow.
0 cases. So whether that means it was a false positive, I don't know. Anybody can guess, really.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to look at today is a couple of things, really. So maybe we could look at, first of all, the overall situation and see what's going on there.
Okay.
And then we had some really bad bushfires literally the day after I spoke to you. Terrible bushfires, which kind of remind me of the eastern states bushfires we had here and also in California. Some of the photos that I saw in the newspaper where houses had been decimated, yet the trees literally behind the house were completely untouched. So that was a bit dodgy.
Right.
And
so it seems like it's very selective, that fire.
Yeah, similar to the ones that we saw in the photos that I saw in the eastern states and in California. I did see a bunch of helicopters flying around that morning as well. And I'm nowhere near the fire, so I thought kind of maybe that could have been an operation of sorts, but I mean, obviously it was some sort of operation. I don't know exactly.
Yeah. It seems like you will be out of whatever they got within 4 days. So that kind of makes sense to you at the end of the week.
Yeah.
So it feels like they lift everything when they say they're going to, which is wonderful. They were only trying to save face with the keeping the mask situation. It felt like a strategy. So I'm looking at the reason why, and this card comes up, which is strategic. So if you look at this guy, in Taro, swords are thoughts and words. So they put information out with swords because it's words and thoughts. Okay, so their reason behind what they did had nothing to do with your health. That would be a pentacle card. Okay, it doesn't have to do with their health. It has to do with a strategy. They're being strategic about something. They're trying to keep people sort of repressed or down or out of the way. is what it feels like. It's a strategic thing. It has nothing to do with your health. So it doesn't surprise me that they didn't find anybody with any illness that they were looking for.
Yeah.
They're buying time.
Yeah. And I guess, like you say, they're trying to save face. It makes perfect sense, because if they just said, okay, everything's finished now after a week,
Yeah.
no masks, nothing, then people will be like, well, what the hell was the problem, you know?
Yeah.
But I also think that when you say they, do you mean the same people we were talking about last week, or do you mean perhaps a different group of people?
Let's ask. Who's in charge of that right now? Let's ask. Okay, it looks military. And it's not the dark or the deep state, not them. So the other guys. So now I've been calling them the Alliance.
Yeah, the Alliance.
White hats / Alliance.
Sure.
Okay, because a whole bunch of people started calling them the Alliance. So I guess that's the new word for it. So I'm going to say the Alliance, and they're finishing something up. So something is coming to an end. They were trying to finish something up in your area, and it was a very difficult task. Both these cards are a lot of difficulty. So they thought they had it done, and then they had to go finish. It's like it was a false finish, and then they needed that 5 days, it looks like. So
okay.
This is an ongoing thing. I think it has something to do, and this is a military card. That's who gave the order. So it seems like your government peoples are being told what to do by a higher force that we could call the Alliance, because it's really well aspected. So it means it's somebody for the people. So it's not the bad guys.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird, hey?
Yeah. Oh, it's refreshing though to hear, for sure. And the other really, really odd thing that happened, and this is kind of funny, somebody sent me a link to the government website here, the state government website, and we have an election coming up next month. But basically this link said that the current government is no longer in power, and they stepped down on the 29th of Jan, and they called the 5-day lockdown on the 31st. So that's what the link basically said. It's like the 40th Parliament is no longer in power. We've got an election coming up, make way for the 41st Parliament. So I'm wondering what that means.
Oh, as soon as you said that, I got yes. So absolutely true.
They're not in power anymore.
They've blown up. It has something, this is my deep state card, and it has something to do with a blow up of that. So they blew those guys up. So they radically removed them, or because the tower is a sudden change in a situation that might be surprising to these guys. So they did something suddenly, and people, your place is being governed by an outside force that's made up of lots of countries' military, is what I get.
Right. Okay.
Because this card's about all kinds of people coming together. It can be about that. It can be about a unique situation, but it's for, there's integrity with the card. So for the good of peoples. So it's not a bad card, but it's gone out of the hands of these guys suddenly. So these guys are controllers, oppressors. It's a pope.
Right.
And if you watch my videos, you know what I think of popes, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Everybody's cards read differently slightly for them, right? So I've assigned this card to come up when it wants to talk about deep state. So the universe wants to tell me that's who's doing things, this card will come up. So that's how it works, right? As you use your tools, somebody else might say, no, that card means something else. Maybe to them it does, but that's what it means to me. So
yeah. Okay. Very interesting. So there's some truth to that. Well, the government website, I guess,
Yeah.
It's, it's really funny is when people, like Charlie Ward was saying that on the UK government website, they were talking about how they downgraded it to not a highly infectious disease or something.
Yeah.
Yet the MSM is still pushing what they push. So people are kind of really conflicted. They're like, well, I believe the government, but the government's saying it's not this, and you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
what do I
It's
believe?
like time to wake up. There's an agenda. It's like, did everybody just forget to use their common sense?
Oh, it's
And what
crazy.
I like to ask people is, when was the last time the government cared about your health?
Yeah, well, you'd think that if
They
they
don't care
did that,
about your
they'd
health.
say go exercise, get some sun,
Yeah,
plenty of vitamins, eat healthily, don't drink anything, don't smoke anything,
they're
you know,
repressing any of that.
don't wear a
Vitamin
mask.
D, yeah, vitamin D3 is your best bet. I've been taking it every single day since, and vitamin B. So D, so sun, get some sun,
Yeah,
right? And they're keeping you out of the sun.
yeah,
It's
absolutely.
ridiculous.
It is interesting. So this is something that you touched on one of your last videos where you were talking about people getting arrested for not wearing masks. And there was a guy that apparently got arrested here and thrown into jail for 18 days for not wearing a mask. So it'd be good if we could look into that to see if there's any truth to that story. And
Okay, let's have a
it's
look.
the only one that's kind of come up.
Looks like somebody did get arrested.
Okay.
Again, it might be just a way to look like they're doing something. Or maybe we've got an overzealous police force who aren't red pilled. Another way I could read
Well,
this.
that's always a big possibility.
Yeah, and that's kind of more, it's slanting more over there. So yeah, I feel like the person might have been pushing it with
did.
the
Yeah,
police officer.
he did.
Yeah, I feel like, yeah, they were being obnoxious and that's why they got so that's really more just a really isolated incident where they found an excuse to throw him away for a while because he was really pissing them off.
He was being a bit of a dick about it. Yeah. So
yeah, that's what it looks like.
Yeah,
So,
they even offered him a mask, which he refused, and then
yeah,
he was denied bail apparently. So very interesting. And what's funny is that I saw a video by a guy in my city who was walking around Fremantle, which is a little town. It's a suburb / town, kind of for half an hour from the city, and he was filming this. It was on YouTube, and he was walking around, and police were there, and he posted 2 videos. He was just being so cheeky. He wasn't wearing a mask, and he was one of those people that knew how to speak to the cops. So without getting into a contract, and he just wasn't answering their questions, and he ended up just walking away. And but he was actively pursuing them as well. So he was being very cheeky.
We all need to learn that, right?
Yeah.
Like Charlie Ward was talking about that. We all need to learn. There's certain things they can't go anywhere with it. That's what I was thinking. And the guy that got thrown in the slammer for not wearing a mask, I also get he might have been drinking. And it was partly because 3 of cups can be partying, drinking. So he was being obnoxious and abusive to the cops, which, is never going to get you anywhere, unfortunately. Right. But if you're just really being smart and using like human law, what do they call it? Common law.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody should learn it, because I'm planning on learning it. Absolutely. Because if you do get in a situation, you can absolutely just intelligently get yourself out of it.
Yep. Yeah, I watched a video last night about a guy in the UK who kept getting a letter from the tax office there, and he just kept returning it because it's a contract, and if he accepts the contract, then he's legally liable to pay this. It was £43,000 that he had to pay, and he just kept sending it back, and he kept sending it back, and they couldn't really do anything about it. So I mean, it's very ballsy, but if you don't know what you're doing, you could easily get yourself into a lot of trouble. So that's why you really need to educate yourself on
Yeah.
on the processes about how to, go about it.
Apparently, if your name is in all caps, that's the
Yeah.
first thing to just refuse to deal with them. Just say, is my name in all capitals? As soon as they say yes, then you can say, well, no, that's not me. Because
That's
that's
a
a
corporate entity.
company, and
Yeah.
that's not, I'm a sovereign human, and that's not representing me, so I say no to this contract. That's what Charlie Ward did in some situation he got himself in.
Right.
And he just kept going around in a circle, and they finally had to send him away.
It's very sneaky, this whole birth certificate thing, and they just get you from birth. It's absolutely insane, and it's such a crime against humanity, just that thing in and of itself.
Yeah. And guess who's making money off your birth certificate? Goes back to the British Royals.
Yeah, I mean, I heard that they traded on the stock exchange or something somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know how, but
those sleaze muffins, they've been living off mankind since the beginning of time. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Yeah, this guy said that's where income tax originated. So I think it was in the UK, and I think it was 1915 or something. And they said, well, we need to buy this thing or pay for this thing. So we'll just tax, I think it was 1%. They'll tax the citizens 1%. It was only supposed to be for a year, but then it just continued. And then it just got progressively higher. Yeah.
What a great idea.
And it's one of those things that people don't question, because it's like similar kind of thing with the what right now we've got coming, which, well, we may happen, is a passport that states whether or not you've had the flu shot or not. So and people are saying, oh, but that's okay. We've had certain countries you need to have a shot to get in because of whatever reason. But first of all, I mean, is that even valid? You know what I mean? Like, why would you need, just because it's been done for a long time doesn't make it right.
Yeah.
And second of all, this is a completely different situation where they're saying you can't go shopping and you can't fly and you can't go to the gym or whatever it is. You basically need to have the shot or you die.
And the shot is proving itself to be very dangerous.
It's crazy.
Yeah, but it sounds like your government is being usurped.
Is that what I think it is?
Honestly, like they're tossing. I think the government in a lot of countries has already been dismantled, and we just don't know about it yet. Some places it's showing up and you can see it, but other places it isn't. Like, honestly, we're not being governed by Trudeau anymore. People just think he's still at the head. He's not at the head. That guy was on house arrest in like April.
Last year,
of him and his wife. They both had ankle bracelets, and nothing. Then he went away for a while. It was like we didn't see hide or hair of him. Then all of a sudden, this other guy comes back who doesn't look a thing like him. His ears are in a different place. His nose is different, and he grew a beard and a mustache all of a sudden, and he doesn't look a thing like him.
Okay.
That's like, okay, who's this guy?
I didn't notice that about Trudeau, but I've definitely noticed about a lot of other people. Biden, for one. John Kerry, even. I think Prime Minister did a really good video where he had all these different people, and John Kerry looks so different. His chin was really pronounced, and
people's chins don't change.
No, only the ears and nose tend to grow as you get older, But we are literally, I mean, people can say what they want about the plan or whatever it is, that you want to believe, but we are literally watching a movie. I can't put it any other way. It's, did you see that funny video where Trump opened up the Biden and Kamala Harris?
Oh, he broke Pelosi in on their meeting in the White House?
With the
that was so funny.
The door.
My God. Because there was photos circulating where the seams were coming apart because it's obviously a staged production. And there was this seam in the wall and it was kind of coming apart a little, like what would happen in a movie set, because the walls are just, held together like, it's flimsy, right? Movie sets. And I think it started, somebody got the bright idea they were going to do that. That was a good one.
Yeah, and it wasn't even just the wall, because a lot of people were saying, "Oh, that's just a secret door." But if you look at the floor, there's a gap between the floor and the
Yeah.
wall as well. So it's
Yeah.
clearly just a thing that you can move. It's not
Yeah.
just the wall. Yeah. Could we have a look at? I saw some chemtrail. I think they were chemtrails, and I've never seen them here before. But when I went out Friday morning, it was like it would have been a cloudless day, but there were these clouds in the sky that were really thin, and they looked like they had lines. The wind had kind of taken them a little bit, moved them. And I think I've only ever seen, because we don't have many flight paths here, but I think I've only ever seen a plane do that once here.
Isn't that weird? It does look like it has something nefarious to it, because this card's like substances that might be dangerous.
Right.
If you look at all the cups, everything, there's something scary in every cup.
Uh-huh.
And it's a bit of a secretive card. You don't understand, because so even the universe says they don't want to exactly spill exactly what's going on, but it's nefarious and something that's been kept a secret for a really long time. So that sounds like chemtrails to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it looks like it's not as bad as, so like everything's minor arcana, the first thing I notice, and this card says don't worry, so it didn't really do any harm. So they might be just throwing out a few things that they think they can do, but I don't think they have a lot of oomph behind it anymore. Right. So this card talks about you're worrying, because see all the swords are thoughts and words. So, and they're all going sideways in tarot. The card talks about worrying for no reason. So whatever's going on, it's like the last little hiccups or coughing sputters of deep state trying to keep a grip on things, using up the last of their chemtrail. Remember that their funds have been supposedly cut off.
Yeah.
This is how they're taking down the deep state. So they're going in, they're cleaning out the tunnels, they're taking away the livelihood of, because they're making so much money off the sale of things made from humans, so human cattle down there, right? So children, babies that have been born there, even generations of people down there, women that are forced to birth children and never get to see them, and it's horrifying.
Oh, it's absolutely nuts. It's absolutely
right. So they got this. So they're taking that out apparently very efficiently. They've been doing it for a long time. So they're taking out their main source of income, and then they cut off the Vatican, which was a big source of income. The Vatican Bank was the big launderer apparently. So they took all the Vatican's resources that they'd been stealing from mankind since the beginning, or the conception of the Vatican, which makes sense if you think about the original popes and the stories around those guys. What a bunch of criminals. That's like as if they're going to all of a sudden get really good all of a sudden. No, they just got worse probably. So they took that resource out, and then apparently a lot of people's monies got cut off, which a lot of people weren't talking about. But if you were wondering why people like Hollywood people were so mad at Trump right towards the end, Mr. T. They were so mad at him because apparently a lot of people, if they had a really good evidence on them and they had indictments against them, they'd cut off their monies.
Yeah.
So they were really mad at him. That's why they were like speaking out against Trump so badly. I mean, one of the reasons.
Yeah.
I think it was it Dustin Hoffman or no, the
Rob
other
De Niro.
guy.
Rob De Niro.
Yeah, Robert De Niro. He went nuts on him because
He did.
People were saying it's because he got his money cut off. All his monies got frozen.
I still didn't know. I still didn't know about, because I never watched the MSM. In fact, I watched more MSM last year than I did probably the 20 years before that, because I wanted to see what they were saying, you know.
Yeah.
So I had no idea that Trump was this. They demonized him as much as they did until last year, and
Oh, yeah.
I had no idea about Trump. But
Yeah.
yeah, the Vatican apparently paid for one of the archbishops here who had a string of sex offenses. He was in court. They paid for his legal fees. Apparently,
Sure they did.
he works at the Vatican,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Speaking of the MSM, I think that it would be a good question to ask what kind of a timeline perhaps we could look at around when the MSM may meet their demise in Australia.
And the ace, so they will for sure, because we've got an ace and aces are yeses. And I asked, will they? And if so, when? So that's a yes. This is my February card. And this card is also about being vulnerable. So they're already vulnerable. So I feel like they've been fed the riot act, which I got that also with other mainstream medias. There's all these things starting to leak into the mainstream media. I think they've been infiltrated by the good guys. And I think they're coming at them from the edges. That's what I think. They're more subtle. Like people want it just to be like slam down, take them down, like wrestle them down in public. No, they're using the tactics of the dark cult on back at them, and they're doing it in a subtle way. They're like it's like trolling them from the inside. That's what it looks like. So it's already been, so they've been infiltrated for sure. This card is a half and half. So some of the people who are involved don't even realize it, and some of the people are in on the good guys side. So you're going to see flipping. This card flips. See how the card goes? It's a juggler.
It's
card's known as the juggler. You're going to see people flipping. So all of a sudden, who used to talk bad things about Trump, they're going to all of a sudden have a good, all of a sudden they're going to say the opposite. Like you're going to see some flips. And yeah, you'll see more integrity. So between now, I'd say anytime this month and April, because this is my April card. So February, between February and April, so it'll subtly and just maybe come to a crescendo by April. Maybe April Fool's Day, that would be a riot, right? Fool job, right? So slowly, they're trying to do it so people, it's like they're trying to reprogram them the good way, because we've been so programmed, and all those sleepers need to have they're planting things already. I can see it. Like there was a commercial that went around, and I was talking about it on my show today. My show was up today, and the commercial was Saturday Night Live, and they actually did a pizza commercial that called out, they basically said, if you want the trafficking kind of pizza, and I won't say the S word that goes with that, with children, if you want that kind of pizza, we don't serve that, but you'll have to go to Hillary's pizza joint for that. And then they had a picture of her holding a big pizza with a big smile. Okay, so everybody was saying, well, they were just making a joke, but I said, okay, that might look like that, but actually they were trolling themselves if that was the case, because everybody read it like, wow. So now they're admitting that because everybody knows on some level that she's a criminal family, like their whole family's criminal. Everybody knows. So if they thought that was funny, it backfired, because people were like, hey, look, they're outing themselves. It went very badly for them.
I think nothing is done. I think everything's done on purpose. You know, you can. It's not like there are no coincidences. I've come to realize, and people see, like, I tried showing somebody all the pedophile symbols in the movies and stuff, and the cartoons and stuff, and I even saw one on a I'm not going to say what it is, because it might, let's just say a business in my city had this symbol on on one of their products, and
Yeah.
I was really kind of blown away by it. And like they say, what are the how many times does it have to be a coincidence? It's mathematically impossible.
Yep,
Like it was
it's
the
true.
exact same symbol. It
Yeah.
could be a coincidence, but it seems really interesting that they use the same
Yeah.
symbol.
Yeah.
You know?
What about on the Pope's garment?
Oh yeah, that was just brazen.
Blatantly,
Yeah,
brazenly, unbelievable.
and they'll have jewelry, rings, and earrings, and
Yeah.
certain people. This
Yeah.
2020 has been a massive red pill. I mean,
Yeah.
it really was. It really
Yeah.
was. There's so
Now,
many.
can I ask you something? A
Sure.
viewer from Australia wrote to me, and they're from Victoria, and they wanted to know about, and I forget the guy's name, but somebody really big there. There was some big scandal around. Do you know anything about that?
I don't know about a scandal necessarily, but
Okay, so we're talking about this fellow. What was his name again? From Victoria.
Andrews, Daniel Andrews.
And okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So we've got this death card. So his life's changed dramatically, and he's facing some kind of justice.
Right.
So he's facing some kind of justice, and it feels like he's possibly even taken out of where his area, or he will be soon if he hasn't already. So I'm thinking he's in the same kind of shape as our prime minister in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I look at Justin Trudeau, I get that he's, he was under house arrest for quite a while, but I feel like he's changed and he might have been taken out of Canada.
Oh, you
Definitely
mean removed from the country?
removed, yeah. And this guy looks like that happened to him too.
Okay, because what's interesting is
He's
that
working on saying things, so he's changing his tune. See how the swords are being moved? So this guy's strategically moving around thoughts and words. So he's using his thoughts and words to strategically say what he needs to say, maybe in this case, to stay alive.
Yeah.
Right? So he's working on saying the right thing. So it sounds like he's telling on people.
I see. Yeah,
Yeah.
JCK did a video. She did I'm pretty sure it was a coded one, and she said this person is going to step down at some point. And literally on the day or the day after, this video popped up where he did some sort of a press conference, and he looked like a completely different person. And so many people noticed it. It was in Australia noticed it. I'm like, what's going on with this guy? He looked way younger to me.
Yeah.
It could have just been the light, it could have been many things.
No.
but she said no, it's not. It's like he was, and then Charlie Ward confirmed it. He said, yeah, he was asked to step down. And so I don't know what we're seeing right now, because he's been on the news recently and talking about different things. So I don't know if that's a stand-in or what it is.
It's all a movie. You'll find out in 2. So that's days or weeks where he is and what he's up to.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was getting, when I did a big look on when do we finally get some real intel about what happens to these people and what's going on, in indictments, and just find some confirmation around that. And I get in the next 2 weeks, and it could even be sooner.
Wow.
So I'm thinking within that amount of time, we're going to know about not just US people. We're going to know about some big world leaders.
And that's not months, not 2 months? Or is
it swords are faster. So swords and wands in tarot are very fast moving, because swords are thoughts and words. How quick does it take you to have a thought or change your mind? Right. And then wands are like fire inspired energy. They could be seconds, moments. Swords could be moments too, because it only takes a moment to change your mind. Okay, so they go up to about 2 weeks, maybe, if you're looking at timing with tarot. And pentacles and cups can last weeks, months, or even years, especially pentacles. They can be years.
Yeah, right.
So there's slower moving energy because it's earth and water, whereas wands are fire, so that's fast, and swords are thoughts and words, air. element of air. So
I
those
see.
those are elements and they move quicker. So that's like I teach tarot, I have for 35 years. And one of the things I developed, which a lot of readers don't develop, which I would highly recommend they do develop, is how to figure out timing with your cards, because it just makes you a better, more practical reader.
Mhm. Okay. I'm really, really. I just want to know. I suppose. I wonder how it's all going to come out. Like how is it? This is may not necessarily be something that you could read, but I'm just kind of just talking here. But yeah, how is it all going to come out? Is it all going to be like Dave Wilcock says? It more than likely will be some sort of a world televised event where, because how else are they going to get everybody to know? They need people to be paying attention to whatever it is that they're saying. And if it's just on the internet, people can easily say, well, I'm not going to look at that. Or
Yeah. I'm looking around because I'm on your program and you're in Australia. I'm looking around your area.
okay.
Because it could be different in different areas. So I just wanted to localize it because I think that would be more sort of useful to the people that live where you live, right?
Sure.
So I'm looking around and right away I get this ace, which means yes, it will come out. And while you were talking about what David Wilcock said, this card was the card I laid down and these are yeses. Mm-hmm. So an ace of any kind when you're talking about something is a yes. I mean, it depends on where it comes, but it was the first card I pulled while you were talking about David Wilcock. So the energy says yes to what he was saying. So it's going to be something like what he says. We've got the 3, so it's already been coming out. So I think the idea that the mainstream media has already been infiltrated to some degree all over the world, I think. And they've already been told, because don't forget what Charlie Ward always says, they've already given them, they've said Biden was arrested, the military's in charge of the US, and the mainstream media won't carry the story in any part of the world. They wouldn't take the story.
And did you get that as being true? You looked into that, didn't you?
I did look into it and I got it as true.
Okay.
Yeah. I think they're just, so now they're waiting for the right opportunity, it seems like, right? So we've got this 5. So this is what the mainstream media did with the information. It was already given to them, it looks like. So yes, it's already been put out there. So the energy's out, but it's being stopped. Now this is what the mainstream media is doing with it. This is a temporary and difficult and glitchy card, but it's fast moving. Yeah, like the card doesn't last long because it means you'll have setbacks and glitches and somebody's fighting you on it. So they're fighting putting it out. They don't want to put it out because it's the end of them.
Sure. Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mainstream media is all owned by 6 people.
Yeah.
Right.
I've seen the chart. Yeah.
Yeah, 6 people. And that's all over the world. So that group are obviously deep state connected. Obviously.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. They wouldn't be putting out the lies that they put out. And they're all part of what is repressing mankind for at least hundreds of years, if not longer. So no, they don't want to say that, because if they say that, so they think they still got a shot at pulling this world takeover thing off, but they don't. So it's like they're fighting their last breath. Right? So they're holding it up. And that's why it might take 2 more weeks.
It's not long. 2 weeks.
Right? Yeah, 2 weeks is not long.
It's not
so
long.
We've got the magician. So every single day, they get closer to getting taken down.
Yeah.
Every single day says she's got all the power. So the good guys have all the power and they're just waiting for an opportune moment.
Okay.
It's all about opportunity and what, they're going to wait for a moment that serves them. And it's literally, and this is probably why Charlie Ward it could have been last Friday, his intel. It's literally every day they have a meeting and decide what they're doing that day. It could be any moment. That's how moment to moment we're going with that magician. Magician is just weighing things out. It's like we're in a world war and it's a silent information war, and they're waiting to strike when it's perfect timing and not a minute before, but it's going to be soon. It's going to be
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing about this whole scenario is that it has to be so well calculated, because it's a huge operation. It's been in the works for decades. It's not like, so it does have to be well thought
They don't
out.
want to screw it up now. They don't want to screw it up, right?
No,
It's
I mean the final throes.
Right.
Yeah. There's one more thing I think we could look at, and it's about the flu shot, which is supposed to be rolled out here, I think at the next literally a week from now, and in certain parts of the country, and then in my city the week after that. So I'm wondering, is that actually the case, or is that just a smoke screen?
I get it gets held up. It gets held up. This card holds something up.
It seems as though it's being held up in a bunch of countries. I mean, en masse. I mean, still people are getting it, but on the mass scale of the rollout, I know it's been held up in Germany, and if that happens here, then that'd be good too.
In the next 4, that could be days or weeks, things get a lot better and creates why it gets nipped in the bud, basically.
Right. Okay.
So that's probably the mainstream media thing. And what I always get around that is, as soon as things get really obvious what's been going on to everybody, whether they believe it or not, right? As soon as things as soon as the mainstream media gets silenced, because they're really I think they're the head of the snake, frankly, because they're the ones doing all the bidding of, and they're why everybody's so in the dark. They've been completely lying, bold-facedly lying for years. So I believe once that comes down, they can't keep the narrative up about the fear, about how good the cure is. We're going to call it the cure. Of course, we know it's not a cure, but that's a safe word we can say.
Anything but.
Right? Yeah. So I think all of a sudden that gets tabled, and then a lot of truths will come out about everything.
Right.
It will be disclosure year.
It is going to be an insane year.
Yeah.
I think it would just keep coming, year after year, month after month, year after year, because you can't just do it all at once. It's just too much, isn't there?
Yeah.
But, and I'm sure, no matter how far down the rabbit hole you go, you can always go deeper. So even though you feel like you know a lot, I'm sure there's a lot more out there that we just don't know yet.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on again. It's been a real pleasure.
Yeah. Good.
And there's a lot of good information there.
Good. Well, I hope I was helpful anyway.
Yeah, you definitely were.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
good.
I'll keep you updated, and if anything crazy happens, I'll let you know. But otherwise, we can stay in touch over email and stuff.
Good. Thanks, David.
Thanks, Janine. Take care.
Yeah.
See you later.
See ya.